Our speaker today is Brian Naron. He's the newest member of the Tacoma Business Connection. He's a service advisor at Bristow's exclusive automotive repair. Bristow's is located at 4731 South Tacoma Way. He's a native of Washington State and has lived in the area all of his life. He's been married to his wife Wendy since 2012, and they're raising 7 children and 3 grandchildren between them. His passion is music. He collects records and music memorabilia, sees live music regularly, and works at his local record label, along with working at Bristow. He actually likes to mow his own lawn to relax.
What?
Weird, right? Please welcome Brian Naron.
Thank you, John. All right. So yes, I am the newest member of this group here. I'd like to spend a little time telling you a little bit about myself, about what I do at Bristow's, and of course what I can do to help you folks and other people that you know. So for my 53 and a half years, I have lived in the Tacoma area. I was raised in the Midland area. Some of you real estate folks will know that area over off of like 95th and Golden Given. Grew up where it was sort of rural suburbia. We lived, it was a little bit of a borough there. You had the shoe cobbler, and you had the meat market guy, the butcher. You had the little restaurant. You had a couple of churches. You had the grocery store. You had the feed mill and the water department that most of the people who lived in the area worked in, and we had a lot of chores to do in the mornings. If we didn't fuss a lot about lunchtime, we were free to roam our neighborhood. And when the bell rang, and we had a big bell on the back of our house, you better be close enough to hear it and be home in about 5 minutes. We learned a lot about being respectful. We learned a lot about yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir. There were 7 of us in a house that was about, well, my mom swears it was only 900 square feet. I walked it off one day and it was about 1,200. So that kind of environment, you have to have rules, you got to have some order, you've got to have some rewards and consequence, like everything else in life, in order for that many people to be able to live and cooperate and get things done. And we got a lot of things done because we worked our 1/4 of an acre for gardens. My mom taught us all how to can, and we put up vegetables and meats and freeze-dried stuff. I didn't know we were poor because we always had food, we always had love, we always had things. They weren't the same things that like my friends had, but I didn't really care, didn't really pay attention. But I went to Franklin Pierce High School and graduated in 1980. In the time when I was in school and even before, I was totally enamored with art and music, and spent most of my waking hours, if I wasn't doing chores, I was drawing or listening to the radio, and so that was my first real passion. It still is my passion. But I also learned early on that working was really important. I had my first full-time job at 10, delivering the Tacoma News Tribune, and I had lawns to mow and yards to do, and so I was pretty enterprising. Did a lot of so essentially I've been working for most of my life, and during that time I learned what was important for people from them, because they wanted things a certain way. And thankfully, I was shown a lot of really good direction, because it helped develop my work ethic. It's still really important to me now to say yes sir, yes ma'am. If you come into my store now and I don't know you, I don't have a relationship with you, I'm still going to call you, Mr. Bailey, until you say, hey, my name's John. I really discovered my love for music when I was 14, and for some of you, I don't know, Kiss Alive 1 was like the record when you were someone my age or someone a little older, and I went totally off the edge. So, of course, my parents thought, I was doomed. I grew up in a very religious family. I have 2 brothers that are ministers. I have 3 other ministers that are cousins or uncles, and so they thought I was going to heck. I grew up with a good sense of direction. I think my moral compass was always good. I was easily swayed by people when I was younger. Sometimes, not understanding where my true north was on my compass, but we all do that because we're young and we figured out. And of course, my father was really good at being a disciplinarian and keeping me on the track here. So after I graduated from high school, I went to college for a couple of years, and then I started noticing that I wasn't that interested. I wanted to be an educator, I wanted to be an art educator, and I realized in 1983, about the time I decided to leave school, that the average scale for most teachers in the state of Washington was about $12,000. And I had a summer job where I was making about that much money. It was like my first real W-2 job. And by the time they offered me a full-time position, I was making about $3 an hour more than my father in 1983, 84. So off to work I went. And primarily I worked in production. I stacked concrete for about 8 years. I used heavy equipment, but there's still a lot of stacking to do. To give you any kind of perspective, I basically stacked all the blocks that make the Tacoma Dome. I stacked 30,000 pounds of concrete a day, believe it or not. You just do the math. 35 pounds a block, 75 blocks per pallet, 30 pallets a day. It's a lot of stacking. So when the union lost their bid to get a new contract, we got jettisoned from there. I worked at Krusty's in Kent, the frozen food plant. So the little mini pancakes and the waffles. For most of the 90s, I made those for you when you were, wanting something good for breakfast. I then opened up a music store for a couple of years. It was down by the Harmon building on Pacific Avenue, 1928 Pacific Avenue. And by that time I'd been married and had a couple of kids and a stepson, and it was going pretty good. And then, as life does, things happen, and I became a single parent, and had to give up my little music store. And I had to decide I had to get a real job again because, working a record store is not really a real job. But I showed up on time, like most guys don't. And so, as it so happened, I knew Pete Bristow from when we went, from where I used to work at the concrete place. He used to work on roller mixers. He'd rebuild the transmissions on the big roller mixers because those knuckleheads were always ruining their equipment. And so he and I had struck up a friendship. We both like music, both like going out, cruising and stuff like that. And he knew that I had closed the store. The gal he had working for him was more interested in talking on the phone with her friends than like selling work for him. Because at that point he was a one-man shop, and everybody's been a one-man shop at one point. And it's hard to be the face of the company and also the mule, you know, that does all the work. So he just said, hey, I got a job for you if you'd like it. I know that cars aren't your thing, because they're not my thing. They're still not my thing. But I thought, a stopgap job. Okay, cool. I'll get a real job, 40 hours a week, get some benefits. And he provided me a lot of flexibility because as I said, I was a single parent of 3 kids for about 9 years. And so I got hired on at Bristow's. I thought, all right, I'll give this 6 months or a year and I'll find something else. Well, 17 years later, I'm still at Bristow's. I still have the luxury of the flexibility that he provides me, that Pete Bristow provides me for not only getting the work done at the office, but you know, getting my personal things done with my kids. And now all my kids are all grown up now. They're all moved out. My wife, Wendy, she has 3 daughters and 3 grandkids, and so we spend a lot of time with them and providing all the usual challenges that my children did. So again, that's more about me and what I do and what I've done to get to this point. I do have a record label that I'm a part of, and that's really exciting. I was a failed musician, so I could only collect things and go to shows and see the artists that I enjoyed. And then here the last year and a half, me and a couple of friends decided that we were going to create a record label and put out our own records and stuff like that. So it's going pretty good. I got 1 record out already. We've got a couple more records coming out. It's local musicians from back when I was a kid, and it's going really well.
What instrument do you play?
I tried playing drums. I tried playing guitar. I'm just not very good at them.
The last mechanic that we had here played drums. But you don't like working on the cars.
But I think drummers are inherently good at internal mathematics. You know, they kind of understand their bodies and how everything is got a sequence, and it's like they have 5 brains. I only have 1 brain, and I can't make it all work.
So what instrument do you play?
I don't play any instruments. That's why I said I was a failed, frustrated musician. I tried several different things, but never really did well. So I decided to be on the other end of it, promoting events, collecting music and memorabilia. And then now I'm doing, like I said, doing a label. So that's kind of, like I said, it's kind of fun. But at Bristow's, you know, our goal is certainly to make sure that your car is reliable and you're happy with the work that we do. One of the very first thing that I do to make that happen is I have a satisfactory first impression made, you know. Whether it's the phone call, whether it's when you come through the door, you want to make sure, I want to make sure that when you come in, you find that the environment you're in seems comfortable and safe, clean, organized, that the person, usually me or the person I'm currently training, greets you pleasantly and provide you with the information you need when you come in. And it's important for us to ask good questions at the counter when you come in, because you can come in and say, well, my car isn't running very well, I think it needs a tune-up. And like I mentioned before, one of my little commercials is, you know, 7 out of 10 times or more, your car doesn't need a tune-up, there's something else that's going wrong. So I need to ask good questions to find out why you're here, so that then I can communicate to the technicians with your symptoms and how we can best get to resolution on your car for the least amount of money. Yeah, we're there to make money, but you know, we want to find out what your problem is and fix your problem first. Yes, I'd love to do your tires. I'd love to do your other work that your car is begging for, But if I don't fix the problem you came in for, even if it's the least high priority, then I've not done my job. Because if you've got a squeak in your car and I don't fix that squeak, but I just got done selling you $900 worth of service work, you're not going to be happy with me. One of the ways that we try to make sure that we can do that is this inspection form, and I'll pass one around just so you folks can see it. I haven't counted up all the points. You know, it's just a several point inspection. You're going to see different accessories, different components of your vehicle. You're going to see a green, yellow, and red. Green mean good, yellow mean caution, red being stop or bad. My technicians do one of these forms on everybody's car, whether it's an oil service, whether it's a major engine overhaul. We don't charge you for this inspection. This is something that we give to you every time you come in. We grade these conditions on your cars, and we will make recommendations. And the recommendations are designed to then give you the information you probably didn't have already, because most people don't work on their own cars these days. You used to be able to do that. Most technicians who haven't been to school in a year can't do cars anymore, just because, as you know, Kevin, your service people, your technicians are probably getting some form of training every 6 months. If you're not, you're out of the loop. So we do this inspection. We provide you with a lot of information. We hope that you know, we certainly are able to satisfy why you're here to begin with, so that we take care of the radio that's not working right, and oh, by the way, it's time to do a brake flush, and would you like to do that now? That way we can keep your car rolling. It can be reliable for you, because people just don't emotionally or physically have the time these days to be able to let their car go. Everybody's, especially in our area. Our area is one of the areas where more people, they just want to be in their car. They want to drive in their car. Their car is their office. It's not like some of the older parts of the country where trains, buses are so well integrated that you can just get on a tram and you can be where you want to be. It's really hard to get people away from their coffee and their cars in this area, and that's just the reality. And so what I try to do at Bristow's is be able to keep you on the road, make the value of what we do seem reasonable, because it's all getting out of, you know, it's all expensive anymore to really work on cars. You know, it's not your dad's 64 Falcon anymore where you put the plugs in and sand the points and boom, it runs like a champ. Because now it's a software download that makes your car run better. There's two things that are the main concerns. Two of our main concerns is that we want to make sure that we have your vehicle back to you when we say we are, and that we fix what you wanted fixed to begin with. So at Bristow's, you're going to get a good experience. We do our best to use all the latest training and all the information and the equipment that we can afford to provide you. And you've probably heard me say this before, that we're not 100%, but we always make it right. And so if I see you come through the door, you're going to get a Mr. or Mrs. if I don't know you that well. And but as you know, but this seems like a pretty good group, and I'm pretty comfortable here, and I'd like to see you and your family here. We'd like to keep you on the road, keep you safe. So, Brian at Bristow's Automotive Service Advisor, the toughest job in the automotive industry.
So yeah, you do all cars basically. You do stands?
Well, that was something I was going to say too. You know, that moniker that Pete has, that exclusive auto repair. That was something he did when he first opened up business almost 20 years ago. We're currently changing our logo, changing our name. We're shortening our name to Bristow's Automotive. I pretty much answer the phone that way now. It's a little pretentious. It's a little confusing too, because, well, just like you asked me earlier, well, Kevin, so you work on just expensive cars? And it's like, well, no, we don't. Our name's kind of pompous. We really work on everything, kind of much to my chagrin sometimes, but no, yes, it's true that we work on race cars and we work on Lamborghinis, and we do all kinds of specialized suspension tuning and all this crazy stuff. But what we got into business initially for, and what we still do, is service work, keeping your car in your warranty in force, keeping your car reliable and safe. So that's just one less thing you have to worry about. So yes, if you go to our shop now, you're going to see a 58 BMW and you can see a bunch of Porsches there, but there's 2 Ford pickups right now. There's a Chevy Cavalier there. There's a Honda Accord. So yeah, so we work on everything, and that's a testament to the guys that work for us. They have such a wide breadth of knowledge and experience that it makes it capable for us to do things that other shops can't do. And that's why we stay so busy. Because if we were just a Honda shop, we would just depend on all the Honda people coming in or seeing our marketing. But people understand that they can bring their old GMC pickup they only service every couple of years because they only use it to haul lumber. But so we work on their BMW and we work on their GMC pickup. So don't be afraid to try us out. Yeah. Any other questions?
I know you're into music. Who's your favorite artist, and have you seen that person live?
Boy, that's a really hard question. But probably my favorite artist of all time was a guy named Mark Bolan. His band was called T-Rex, and they were a 70s band. He unfortunately passed away in '77. No, I've seen lots of videos and YouTube videos and things as such, and collected his music. But I really like local music, and that's and local hard rock and heavy metal is mostly my thing, and that's what my label focuses on. So we're finding, producing, restoring some music that either had never been released or was released in small quantities back in the 80s, back in the 70s, and so we're bringing some of that stuff back. Yeah. So. Yeah.
You guys are expanding. Do you want to just say what's going on with that?
Sure. We've been in the same location for about 19 years. An opportunity to buy a building across the street presented itself. So we're moving essentially across the street fairly soon, we hope. There's a lot of tenant improvements that are going on, but we're moving from 3,600 square feet to 5,400 square feet. So it's a lot more room. Guys will be a lot more efficient, because instead of having to pull a car off a hoist to get to your next car, you can leave a car on a hoist and work on your second hoist. We're going to go from 4 hoists to 8 or 9 hoists. And so that'll be really great. The jury's still out on when that's going to happen, but there's work being done right now. The jury's also out on whether or not this is like a full move or we're just expanding. Pete may still keep the same location, and one of the locations will be just doing service work like we do now, and the other location may be all the fancy stuff, all the race tune prep and engine jobs, the stuff where cars have to get spread out and have to be that way for a week or two. It's hard to do both of those in a facility that's designed to get cars in and get cars out. So, but that's pretty exciting. And right now we're putting in floor electric and HVAC system, mostly because the floor wasn't up to code that was in there before. So we had to cut out a chunk of concrete, 40 by 45 to redo the concrete. So that was kind of a bummer.
Were your instincts to stack that concrete once you cut it out?
No. No, that was not my instinct.
It wasn't, but it took me a second to put it out.
Yeah, it took me a second. Anything else? Hope I did okay for my first 20-minute presentation. So, yeah. Okay.
Just your opinion, I'll open this up to Kevin too. Now, this is something that I've been hearing about lately, and it seems just a little too fantastic for me. What do you guys think is the likelihood of these driverless cars really showing up?
Well,
I don't like it.
I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't think it's going to happen unless the government mandates that everyone drives one, because it won't work. It won't work unless every car on the road can drive itself, and that's not going to happen. It's like taking guns out of people's hands. I think it's kind of silly. Matter of fact, they got that commercial now with that comedian, and it's a cute commercial, and he's funny, and he's talking about how he's going to beat his 3- and 4-year-old in tennis because they really need that to, and he puts on his parallel parking function on his van, and while he's saying this in the commercial, the car is actually parallel parking for him, and it's just kind of like, you know what? If you're not responsible enough to learn how to drive, get off the road. That's my thing. But the government's always going to try to protect us from ourselves. I've said that before. It's.
I was actually having a conversation with someone last night about this, and they made a couple of interesting points. What's going to probably have to happen someday is that literally car ownership, in terms of driving your own car around from various points during the day, that's probably going to just go away. And there'll be the cars that will literally be driverless, but it'll be like a driverless Uber world that we live in, where you go somewhere and you just go, pick me up, and then right around the corner comes your driverless Uber car that scoops you up and takes you, whether it's a few blocks or however far.
Wow.
Because right now, the sort of inefficiency of the utilization rate of your car, like how much during the day are you actually driving your car? 5% of the time? And this would make it so cars are being used at their full capacity.
Was it BMW has those new cars where you can kind of opt into this plan where you park your car, but then if you want, you can be open to other people to rent your car for an hour, and they do their little mobile app thing. They can get into your car, and it's like $40 an hour or something like that. Because when it's just parked, what's it doing for you?
Yeah, they have that in Seattle right now.
Oh, do they?
Some cars and bicycles.
What is it, cars? Yeah.
They call the Go cars. They're like little. I see mostly being like the little smart cars. And they have designated parking places. And you do exactly that. You get online, you pay for, I'm going to use this car for this amount of time, and they tell you where to park it near your destination.
And then when the car needs service work, the computer is telling the car that, and so it drives itself right into Bristow.
I don't really care how they do it as long as they still wreck them somehow.
Yeah, exactly, right?